Okay everyone, Martin Brichot, Organic's Best Urban Gardener. I'm here with another tutorial and I want to share some information with you container gardeners out there. For many of you, when it comes to container gardening, you're always finding yourself having to make some choices that's not as simplified as you would like them. For instance, we take these containers here and we have these holes here, and a lot of individuals put a lot of heavy gravel or large rocks on the bottom. Some use plastic bottles that's not good for your soil in the long run. Now let me make myself clear. Plastic bottles are good for drinking, but one use only. You need to discard it, recycle it. And others are using mesh or landscape fabric. I was one of them. In fact, many years ago, I used to use landscape fabric. And landscape fabric, there's a downside. It holds on to too much water and causes a smell, a stench in the bottom of your containers. If you don't want to introduce bacteria or disease, stay away from landscape fabric. The other material is absolutely good to use, mesh. But guess what? Like landscape fabric, they both cost money. So we're looking for some free, renewable, organic material to put here. And a lot of people will go burlap. I'm going to share with you what I've done for the past 2 years, and I hope this helps you. And this method is completely 100% free. I'm going to place this container on the side right now. I have a bin here. I'm filling that bin up about halfway with water. You'll see in just a moment why. So while it's filling up with water, let me just chat with you. Container garden is a great way to provide food for you and your family members. Container gardening is a great way to still grow produce in a small and limited space, and you don't have to have a raised bed to do so. There's a lot you could do with container gardening, and you can grow everything from vegetables to potatoes to herbs, all the way up to trees, depending on the size of the container. So I'm going to go over here now, and I'm going to show you what I'm going to do. Now that I have my pail of water here, I'm going to take some cardboard. Renewable source is free. You can get it from your local dumpsters. You can get it from your packing material places such as furniture stores, Best Buys, any sort of electronic stores. And you're going to just go ahead and put this down here. Now I have two pieces here. The goal here is to submerge it. It only takes about 5 to 10 minutes for it to become very pliable so that you could use it for the next method. You may have to hold it down with your hand in maybe one end because one end is a little stiffer than the other. Or you can simply place a couple of heavy stones on top. The goal here, however, here's a stone. I'm simply going to place it there. I no longer have to hold it down now. The other way you can do it is simply fill up one of your pitchers here, and you can go ahead and sit it on top also, as long as you got something heavy there. Very important. So I'm now, let's see, we'll give it another 5 minutes while I continue to talk to you individuals. So remember, container gardening, the goal here is to keep your containers light and portable. Very important. The larger your container, the more difficult it's going to be to move it around. So if you're someone who's dealing with some disabilities, some limited mobilities, you may want to consider this method, because after all, the goal in a container is to have rich soil amendments, but have it light enough where it's not overwhelmed by too much heavy material. What heavy materials am I talking about? Well, I'll tell you right now. We're going to go over here and I'm going to show you some of the heavy material. And here's some heavy material right here to the naked eye. But truth be told, it's not heavy at all. Now, this container here, as you see, it's a tomato plant. And this is a 15-gallon container made with some soil amendments, but it's light enough that I don't have to struggle to move it around if I need to. There's two things you could do if you're someone who's dealing with limited mobility. You could simply make sure you place this container onto a dolly system. Okay? And I'm going to get you a dolly system right now and show you exactly what I'm talking about. Now, when it comes to a dolly system, you can simply purchase your dolly system that's already made. Here's one particular dolly system. You can purchase these at most nurseries and whatnot, or you can purchase them off your local Amazon. Here's another dolly system that's got 6 points, okay? And it has the wheels attached to each leg, sort of like an octopus. And here you are here. Now you can avoid all that and simply buy you some a couple of 2x4s or 2x2s and create a dolly system. I'll use my wooden tile for an example. Here's your wood here, and you simply attach wheel dollies on the bottom here, and you have yourself a nice, pretty substantial heavy-duty dolly. Place this container on top of it and you're okay. So for those again who have limited mobility, this is exactly what I would do if I were you, especially if you have multiple containers. However, I'm going to give you a little insight. If you are someone with limited mobility, I would avoid the smallest containers as possible. Go ahead and purchase a larger container, wheelbarrow 24.5 gallons. Then you have 40 gallons, and then you can grow multiple edibles in that container and have one, maybe several large containers as opposed to 20 to 50 large containers. So I think the cardboard is ready. Let's go back over here. So now that the cardboard has been soaking for quite some time, I'm going to move it aside. I'm now going to take my container here. I'm going to pick up one sheet of the cardboard. You see how pliable it is now? And I'm going to simply layer it into the bottom here. There you are. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take my box cutter here and I'm going to remove any excess material. Now I don't have to do this. You can even separate the layers like this. Look at that. And I'll show you something in a second. You know, I came up with this method. When I first came up with this method, I thought to myself, when I finally separated, wet the cardboard, I found that it separated, and I was like, I had this extra cardboard. So here's what you get. Okay, biodegradable, organic, a carbon source. As it breaks down, it's going to provide carbon for your food. Now these pieces that came apart, I just simply do this. It's shredded paper. Put it at the bottom there. your worms are gonna love it. So if you put these on top of your wood chips or on your ground, your worms are going to love it, love it, love it. Now remember, this is never before seen on YouTube platform, and you've heard it here first. Now, you could do the same here, but why do that when you can simply take one piece and one piece of cardboard. Now you can layer up to 4 pots. So there's one there. Here's another one. I'm going to go in here. I'm going to separate it again. And again, you can put as many layers as you want. Okay? You can put as many layers as you want, which is what I'm going to do. And then, once again, I'm simply going to take the pieces of darker cardboard in between. And may I remind you that this is a good way to actually separate the layers, because it's going to help break it down much quicker. So I'm going to go over here. I'm actually going to take these pieces out because I don't have any more buckets, and these are my last 2. I'm going to go ahead and put this down here like so, and I'm going to place this back in the bottom. Now all you got to do is go ahead and fill it up with your favorite soil amendment. You have carbon, people, right here. Right here. Do yourselves a favor. Take a handful of worm castings, place it on the bottom first, in both of them. If you have some straw around, take some straw and use a layer there. Wet it, and then go ahead and fill it with your soil. And I'll tell you something right now. It's the best thing ever. Guess what? You don't have to worry about your soil eroding and coming out of your holes here. By the time the cardboard breaks down, the soil would have formed, created a forming, you know, sort of where after so long, when something has sit in a certain position, it has a mold. It creates its own shape. You don't have to worry about that at all. although I'm strong, is very light to pick up these containers because of the light, fluffy, but very rich soils amendments that I put together. So let me say this for a second. If you're going to make a potting soil, it must be light but very rich in nutrients. Perlite, not perlite. There's no such thing as perlite. You're not peering through anything. Perlite. Okay? And you have vermiculite. Those are two different materials, but have similar qualities when it comes to what they do, what their jobs are. Then you have cocoa coir and you have peat moss. Again, two different materials. You have potting soil and planting soil. Planting soil can be done in a container, but it's going to be very heavy. So you want potting soil because planting soil holds onto water a lot longer. So coming up in phase 2, I'm going to share with you folks my container gardening. Now, a lot of my berries are in containers, but I'm going to show you folks why they called me Organic's Best Urban Gardener. Since the beginning, I started gardening container, and I took it to a different level. What level? Well, no one garden in large containers like I have, yet alone grow plenty of food in them. I'm going to share with you what I have on my porch, my back porch, easily accessible, and guess what? I don't have to worry about anyone trying to steal my food. Listen, I hope you enjoyed this information and try to utilize it. It's good for you. It's good for the environment, and cardboard gets recycled and broken down. Guess what? You're creating compost right inside your containers. Until next time, take care of yourselves and each other. I know I certainly will. And as I said before, I'm not done with you yet. I'm not done with you yet.